Forgive me, I don't remember, again, as I mentioned earlier, I don't remember if we covered this. I think we skipped this last meeting because we just ran out of time. So, OSV is the other side of value screen. And I'll call it during November, we ran into an interesting problem. One of our members worked offline and repeated the screen, but if you will, inverse the way things were sorted and ranked. Okay, it's basically the equivalent in a second. You'll see the actual screen changes, but it's the equivalent of a double negative should equal a positive. Okay, and it didn't. Okay, and so basically, what's going on here? This raises all sorts of questions about why the two screens are equivalent. In the particular case, there was an ascending screen, meaning that the inverse actually did better than the starting screen. Okay, so maybe you should use the inverse screen. Then there was a question about, well, if OSV is a good screen, then if you take the top 25 or top X stocks and compare it to the worst 25 or X stocks by the OSV screen, i.e., give me the worst quality stocks as opposed to the best ones, you should see a significant difference. And we weren't. And whatever's going on here, you see it very often when you do screening. So to give you some idea of what I'm talking about, here's the other side of value screen. It's pretty simple. It's basically $1 million. Start off with the S&P 500. You check for $1 million a day liquidity. You exclude financials and ADRs because that's what the other side of value screen does. And then basically what you end up doing is computing a gross profit divided by total asset ratio for every stock. And in this case, the original screen did that in descending order. Okay. Because these are red balls here, you can, they're not included in the screen. And then I just ordered things by that rank, that gross profit to asset rank, in descending order. So all the inverse is order, rank it in ascending, and order it ascending. I.e., this is the double negative. It should work, right? There should be no changes, right? No, it didn't work that way. The ascending, i.e. the bottom screen, the inverse screen, actually did better. So the answers to the questions, why didn't you see two equivalent results? There was some, when you did the ascending screen, there was some invalid data in the database that generated different stocks to be in your portfolio. So consider it like you have a field, and I'll pick gross profit. That was just completely random data, okay? And the computer will go through, calculate that as if it was real data, and it'll give you a different ranking, okay? And that's what caused the change in which stocks you picked, which caused different performance. Since the ascending screen gets better results, should you use it? My answer is, well, when I've seen this sort of problem before, it kind of depends on, well, what's going on. If it's a random variable, my answer is no. If from time to time this sort of thing brings in another factor, like dividend yield or some other fundamental factor that you go, oh, I didn't consider that, then there might be some rationale. Can you fix the ascending screen? Yeah, you just have to essentially make sure you're dealing with valid data. Does the inverse OSV screen, when you pick the worst stocks, underperform the normal one? Yeah, by about 7%. Okay, so it does work, i.e. the best OSV stocks are in fact significantly better than the worst OSV stocks. And does this sort of thing happen when screening? The answer is yes. Depending on what screener you use, Some screeners and back testers have specific commands in them, if you will. It's usually called, I think about it in terms of one system I remember working on had deblanking commands, i.e. if there was junk in a field, you could say deblank the database, and anything that had bogus data in the fields you were interested in were just thrown out, okay? Lots of other screeners, for example, Portfolio 123, don't do that directly. You have to, you essentially have to make sure that all the fields you're dealing with are valid.
You can't put in something like greater than 0 and less than 1.
That's right. You could do that. You just have to remember for the various fields you're dealing with what, effectively what value makes sense. And the reason that the descending sorts and ranks didn't have a problem, because you start from a large positive number going down, and the logic all worked. Okay, when you ran ascending, i.e. you're starting from small numbers, you meant for whatever reason you picked up all these what I call junk fields. So, all right. So just for the heck of it, what I did was I took the long OSV. One of the classic things that you'll see in academic papers is, hey, take the good screen and go long that good screen and go short, well, a bad screen, okay? So here's the normal OSV screen right here. It's in blue. And this red line, excuse me, is the inverse OSV screen, okay? And I'm shorting that. So you're seeing a long equity curve versus a short equity curve. And then this purple line here in between is basically the two of them combined on a daily basis. So you can kind of see that, yes, there are, that purple line does tend upward. You can also see that, especially during bear markets, that's where that purple line, that equity curve, gets an extra boost. Okay. So just a visual representation, sort of thing that you can check out. Another comment I'd make is this is really quite nice to do on paper. However, in terms of actually implementing this sort of strategy, I mean, you have to worry about all the expenses involved and so on. And the bottom line is you wouldn't do this in reality. Okay? It's a good way to make sure that your screen is doing what you think it's doing.